Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. On Couch Potato Theater, we celebrate our favorite movies. You may own your favorite movies digitally or on physical media. However, when they air on cable TV, you love what you're watching so much you don't get off that couch. And that's the definition of what this show is all about. My name is Kevin. I'm going to be your host for this Couch Potato Theater. And we are celebrating the 2015 awesome movie, Pixels, starring Adam Sandler. But also, we are doing an Adam Sandler movie career retrospective. Now, when you're wondering, like, why are we doing Pixels? I will get into that. But first, I want to introduce you to someone who is the biggest Adam Sandler fan that I know, and that is my good friend, Jennifer. What is up?
Not much. How you doing?
Good. So glad you can make it for Pixels here. We'll get into that why, but you are my Adam Sandler expert, so I had to have you on.
Thank you.
All right. Also with us and my co-host on several other shows, including Time Warp, please welcome our queen of movie foo, Lacey. What's up, Lacey?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Really glad to have you guys here. Now, we are talking about the 2015 movie Pixels. Now, I just recently rewatched it, and I had to put these bad boys on because I watched it in 3D.
Nice.
Love my 3D TV. It is great. And Pixels is really good in 3D, and I actually originally saw it in 3D, so yeah. But the question is out there, guys. Why are we doing Pixels of all Adam Sandler films? Well, guys, there's a very good reason why we're doing this here. It's because I wanted to.
Works for me.
I feel that Pixels is a very underrated film that not a lot of people have seen. When I went to see it originally, I was with my friends Scott and Nathan. I went and visited them because they are in South Carolina, and they did not like the movie at all. I loved it, walked away with it going, I want to see this again. Can't wait to see it when it comes out on video. I did experience cheer wine for the first time while I was watching this movie because I had it on, the pour your own drink type of system going on there. Lacey, I know you're familiar with cheer wine. This is a North Carolina soft drink apparently, and they're trying to hide it from the rest of the world.
Yes, I experienced it when I went to summer camp, when I was like 13 or something. And when I got back to Atlanta, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Let's get some. And everyone was like, what are you talking about? I was devastated. I was like, no.
Jennifer, have you ever had cheer wine?
I had cheer wine, and Dave had cheer wine for the very first time when we came to visit you in May.
That's right.
It is delicious. I love it. And I don't drink sodas that much anymore.
Yeah, we had it out of the bottle, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
it was really good. It was very, very unique. I like it a lot. So yes, I have now experienced cheer wine.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Pixels in a little bit. And the reason why we're talking about Pixels is because I wanted to. And I'm the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, and I can make things happen. I know people. I know me. So there you go. I love this film for several reasons. I'm a huge video game nerd, which is what this movie covers. I went to the arcade a lot when I was a kid, played the coin-op games. If I have a chance to see them, I still do that. And this movie really pays tribute to that culture and what happens when we get older. And all of that knowledge that we once used now becomes useful again because of a deadly alien invasion that requires those skills. Lacey, yes.
Did you have a favorite coin-op game? Like, what was your game?
Galaga and the Tron game were definitely my favorites. What about you, Lacey?
Nice. I was a Buster Brothers person. Like I could get through the whole game on one quarter. But
which one?
Buster Brothers.
Okay.
But I didn't need to because I had.
I don't remember that in 1982. When did that come out?
Oh gosh, it was probably 1984.
Okay. Yeah. Jennifer, were you a fan of the coin-opera video games?
I remember taking quarters from my mother to go to the arcade in the late 70s, and the Star Wars video game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
And Tempest.
Yeah.
Love them. And we have an arcade here in Reno, an adult arcade. that has both of them. So when Dave and I have a date night, we'll go and play a bunch of video games. It makes it much more fun, and your coordination sucks after 3 beverages.
Well, one of the reasons too that I wanted to do this film is I just wanted to bring some awareness to it, because we know that Adam Sandler has a lot of fans. We know has his detractors as well, but beside the fact this movie has a fun cast, but also the way that it handles the whole video game thing, I think is great. And I think more people that are into that genre, used to play those games, that hasn't seen this film, hopefully they will get a chance to see this film now that once we're talking about it. And that reminds me, we are going to get spoilerific about it. But before we do that, guys, I want to get into Adam Sandler himself, because Jen, he has a very interesting career. And before I start mentioning his most notable films, and then you did a great job kind of breaking down his career, I want you to kind of talk about the man himself. We've all grown up with him. We've seen him change throughout his films and do different styles. But what is it about Adam Sandler films that you love so much?
So when he first started doing movies, and like after the SNL, they were hugely hilarious. But I think as I've followed his career and watched his movies, he's gotten to a point where it's watching his movies is kind of like how he approaches making those movies, like inviting all his friends over and having everybody in the movie. It's kind of that way. It's how it's gotten with his movies. It's kind of just hanging with your friend. Yes, it can be considered formulaic or repetitive, but you know what? It's good. It's entertaining. And if it wasn't good or entertaining, he wouldn't be still doing it. He's been on Forbes, one of Forbes' top 10 highest paid actors. I think in 2012, he ranked number 2. He's been in like the top 10 for the past 15 years. So obviously, regardless of what the detractors say, he's doing something that works. And I just think they're very comfortable. It's like hanging with your friend. And he's kind of offbeat. Like he looks at things where you just kind of go, yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's why I find him highly funny, and I love his movies.
Lacey, what about you? What is it about Adam Sandler films you like?
I think she just hit it on the head. It looks like he's got all of his friends there. They're just making a bunch of movies, and everyone seems to be having such a good time. And by the time you get to like the third film that he made with his group, you start seeing all the the big kind of cameos and guest stars and that kind of stuff. So you kind of see everyone else is infatuated with that kind of happy, fun set and getting together and wanting to be able to play with that group.
That's a good point. I kind of grew up with him, to be honest with you. And I remember him in his SNL days, which we'll discuss in a little bit. And, and I guess as I look back, there's certain movies of his more recently that I kind of favor other ones, but I always love it when there's a flashback to the 80s or something like that. I always think that he's done a good job with that, because he and the rest of us that are around his age have done the same thing and had the same pop culture that has influenced us, same type of music. And when I look at his career and what he's done, he doesn't seem like your normal movie star, and the amount of money that he's made. I know he's given a bunch of it away, and I know that he treats his friends and family well, and gets them in his movies and makes sure they're okay, or they're a producing partner, or whatever it is. He's quite an amazing movie star when you think about it, but he doesn't seem like a movie star, which is one of the things that's always appealed to me about that. Now, I want to go over his most notable films. I'm going to start with his earlier stuff. This is after SNL. I got Airheads in 94, Billy Madison 95. Of course, he was in Saturday Night Live. Happy Gilmore in 96, Bulletproof in 96, Wedding Singer in 98, Dirty Work, he was a Satan, uncredited, 98, Waterboy, Bobby Boucher in 98, 99, he did Big Daddy, 2000, Little Nicky. He was in The Animal, 2001, Punch Drunk Love in 2002, Mr. Deeds 2002, 8 Crazy Nights 2002. He was the "you can put your weed in this" in the Hot Chick in 2002, Anger Management 2003 with Jack Nicholson, 50 First Dates in 2004, Spanglish in 2004, 2005, The Longest Yard. He had an uncredited role in Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo in 2005. 2006, he was in Click. 2007, Reign Over Me. 2007, I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. 2008, Don't Mess with the Zohan. 2009, Funny People. 2010, Grown Ups. 2011, Just Go With It. 2011, he did the voice of Donald the Monkey in Zookeeper. Jack and Jill in 2011. That's My Boy in 2012. And then he does Hotel Transylvania, the first one in 2012. Grown Ups 2 in 2013. Blended with Barrymore in 2014. He did The Cobbler in 2014. Pixels, of course, 2015. Did Hotel Transylvania 2 in 2015. The Ridiculous Six in 2015. The Do-Over in 2016. Sandy Wexler in 2017. Return to Hotel Transylvania 3 in 2018. Murder Mystery 2019. Uncut Gems in 2019. Hustle in 2022. And Murder Mystery 2 in 2023. Now, Jennifer, you did an awesome job with the certain phases of his life. And let's go ahead and start with phase one. This is what you call the Saturday Night Live phase and his most popular skits.
So he was first appeared in Saturday Night Live as a regular cast member in 1990. And he started, he was kind of, I like to look at it as, he was Jimmy Fallon before Jimmy Fallon was Jimmy Fallon. Like Jimmy Fallon is known for doing the songs and everything. Well, that's what Adam Sandler was known for on SNL. Like he did Opera Man. He did 8 Crazy Nights, the Hanukkah song. So he did a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And Cajun Man too. And he also was on there with Chris Farley, Chris Rock, Kevin Nealon, Rob Schneider, David Spade. So that's kind of where he, showed his comedic talents, and was on there for a good 5 years before he was unceremoniously fired in 95.
And he was fired from SNL, and there was a last skit that he did with Farley. Is that right?
Breaking into the Central Park Zoo, and it was him, Chris Farley, Kevin Nealon, David Spade, Chris Rock, and Jay Moore. And it's all the guys, they broke into the Central Park Zoo in the middle of the night, and they're outside the polar bear enclosure, and they start jumping in, and there's like blood everywhere. And I'm not sure if people had, like, he knew that he had been fired, and Farley was also fired at the time. But I don't know if people knew that he had been fired when he did that skit. So it's kind of like the last thing that they did. They're all jumping into the bear pit and being mauled and killed by a bear, which is kind of a fitting exit for him.
I do remember him during this run of SNL, and I wanted to ask you, Lacey, were you an SNL watcher, and do you remember this part of his career?
I watched SNL kind of sporadically because I was always between high school and all the things I had to do on weekends for school, and then my jobs always ended up being nights on weekends. Yeah. So I never really got to do, like back in the day, because you didn't set your VCR, it never worked.
So you weren't familiar with his early stuff then?
No. Well, no, I saw, bits and bobs, and, when DVD, they did the retrospectives and stuff and all the best ofs and that kind of thing. So I have some knowledge of them, but not a lot.
I remember Opera Man very, very well, and his songs, like the Hanukkah song, all those. And I remember him in Airheads. Airheads had like SNL cameos for days of old cast members, the newest cast members. It was like everyone was in that film, and I remember that really, really well. Okay, so Jen, you also did phase 2 here, where we have the goofball comedies and Happy Madison. You got Billy Madison, Big Daddy, Happy Gilmore, and The Waterboy. Go into that a little bit. This is the rise of his stardom, I would assume, right?
Right. So after he had left SNL, I mean, he had started kind of like Billy Madison was done in 95, which was the same year he was fired from SNL. And he had done Airheads in 94. So he, kind of had a really soft landing. He was able to get out of SNL and start his movie career full on. The first movie that I really remember where I took notice of him after SNL was Happy Gilmore. And that's because I love hockey. At the time I was stalking hockey players when I lived in Los Angeles. So totally loved it. And then the concept of, this guy who keeps trying to make it in the minor leagues in the NHL, has an amazing swing, can drive the ball forever. And when we say amazing swing, we don't mean his form. We mean his ability to drive the ball, because that swing is hideous. So that was kind of the first movie that he did post SNL where, there was buzz about it. Everybody was seeing it. Everybody in our age group. I mean, I was 26. So everybody I knew in that age group was going to see it. And then he goes with, after that is The Wedding Singer, The Waterboy, Big Daddy. He had a cameo, I believe it's uncredited, in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, which was an amazing movie, hilarious. And Little Nicky. So you can start to see the goofball comedies, and with The Wedding Singer, as he's doing all of these screwball goofball comedies with these heavily character driven things. The Wedding Singer is a departure from that. And that's where he kind of is starting to dip his toe in the,
this is phase 3, as you mentioned.
Phase 3. So in phase 2,
and this is after he's founded Happy Madison Productions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Happy Madison was 99. This is
where he gets in with the films with friends, and his acting chops kind of start to get a little better here as well. You have Wedding Singer, Funny People, 51st Dates, Punch Drunk Love, Mr. Deeds, Hotel Transylvania, Grown Ups, of course. Go ahead.
Right. And so in phase 2, where he's doing the goofball comedies, there's The Wedding Singer, which is kind of that first real movie that's in phase 3, where he gets the girl, and he's, this guy is getting the girl, and he's also starting to take more risks, and he's established enough that he can do the screwball comedies, but then he can also do a Click, a Punch Drunk Love, Mr. Deeds. He can pretty much do whatever he wants. And to Lacey's point about him having all these big name stars in his movies, not only is it because he's, apparently very friendly and great to work with, but these people know that his movies are going to make money. And so it's a great vehicle to star in. It may be panned by critics, but, you have Adam Sandler fans like me that will go and see, with very few exceptions, a movie, or rent a movie, or watch it on pay-per-view, or however that's going, we'll go and see it.
Yeah, and then you have phase 4 here, the more recent phase. This is the deal with Netflix as well. We get the Ridiculous Six, Uncut Gems, Return to Stand Up, and then we get the comedies, the murder mystery comedies as well. Uncut Gems, people were actually talking about him like being nominated for acting awards and stuff like that. And that movie, of course, it was more of a serious turn for him as well, but he still stuck around and did some of the comedies. But his deal with Netflix, obviously, I'm sure has made even more money, ridiculously more money. Your thoughts on that turn, the more recent one? And also, by the way, I like The Cobbler. I just want to mention that as well. That was kind of a superhero movie, I guess, if you look at it. But I wanted to ask you about his turn into phase 4, as you have it here, with the deal with the Netflix and this type of comedies that he's doing, and work and non-comedies.
Well, and that's the thing that, I believe, and I don't know, Lacey, you may know, Kevin, you may know, you're probably much more well-versed on this than I am. I believe he's one of the first big name Hollywood actors that has actually done an exclusive deal with Netflix.
Yeah.
I believe Pixels was his last theatrical release in 2015. And so he's got this where he did Hubie Halloween was, I believe, one of the first movies that he had done on Netflix, The Ridiculous Six. And so he's got these deals to do write, direct, produce, star in, it's kind of his vehicle for his next phase. And I believe with his two teenage daughters and, living in LA, I think it gives him more flexibility as he's got, he's 57 now. So it probably gives him more flexibility to be around the family and, do things on his own terms. And again, I now have a production deal with Netflix where I really can do whatever I want. Yeah. And they'll see it. So interesting to see what he.
Lacey, I wanted to get your thoughts on, like, when it comes to his films, where you were like, there's a term that I've seen in other podcasts use, like, this is when I bought season tickets for this actor, meaning that I'm going to go to every movie that they make, or almost every movie. I'm in with this actor. And for me, I remember Happy Gilmore. I didn't see Billy Madison on the big screen. I did see Happy Gilmore, and I did see The Waterboy. But it wasn't for me until he did The Wedding Singer, because of the 80s flashback to that. And if you're going to have Billy Idol on there as well, you had me. And on top of that, just a quick little side note, I went to New York back in, I want to say 2007 or 8 for business. And they had the Wedding Singer musical. And I went to it, and I had really good seats for it too. It was awesome. But I wanted to ask you, where were you when you're like, okay, I'm in on Adam Sandler. I'm going to probably check out most of his films.
Airheads. I haven't missed one since Airheads, with the exception of Uncut Gems, because I'm not a fan of drama. So, yeah. But yeah, Airheads. I followed Brendan Fraser, starting with, School Ties and all those. So I loved Brendan Fraser. When I saw Airheads, I was like, okay, this guy's hilarious. Just his interaction with Nina. I always butcher her last name, Simashko.
Nina Simasko, yeah.
Okay, but that interaction was just the funniest thing ever to me. Yeah. They had really weird and wacky and fun chemistry, and just So I followed him since then. I've seen all of them. I never.
Jennifer, I want to get into a thing that we talked about, this actors on actors thing, in just a second. But you had some other final notes here about his career. I did want to just kind of have you briefly touch on, where he hires friends, works with powerful women like Drew Barrymore, Salma Hayek, Jennifer Aniston, Brooklyn Decker. Characters range from the amusing simpleton to the complex, not so funny troubleman. Then you also mentioned that he married his wife, Jackie, who's in like almost all of his films, and his two daughters who have been in some films as well. But he always seems to invite his friends and family back in, and seems to take care of those people. And I kind of wanted you to touch on that because he was awarded the Mark Twain Award for Humor, and I wanted you to kind of lead into that.
So yeah, you begin, and I think that hiring friends kind of started back in The Waterboy and Airheads. I think I've seen Airheads maybe 2 or 3 times, so Lacey might be able to speak better on this, on who's in it. But that's the hiring of friends is where you started seeing him hire his friends in just side roles and stuff, and you kind of see them continuing throughout. And then also with the SNL cast members that he has in a lot of his movies. And then the leading women. I mean, Drew Barrymore in the Mark Twain Award for Humor special that was on CNN in January. It was very funny. They had Drew Barrymore and Jennifer Aniston introducing him. And it was kind of like this unspoken competitiveness about who was the better wife or girlfriend. It was very funny. But he's kind of, I think it's comfortable for him. And I think he's gotten to a point where I like to work with these people, and I will continue to work with these people. I have producer credits or I have directing credits. I can pretty much do what he wants. So I think he started by hiring friends to just have people around him as he's dipping his toe in this water we call Hollywood. And it's just continued. Now people know who they are, and, you know, they're always there and they play certain roles. And I think that's, you know, is in a town like Hollywood that can be considered very fake, to be as cognizant about his friends and his family and having them there with him.
And I remember Rob Schneider I think he did a little song or something like that, because some people forget, like, Rob Schneider's an actual really good singer, you know, and he has a very successful, his daughter's also a very successful singer as well. Is it Elle King? Is that who it is?
Elle King, yeah, is his
yeah.
daughter.
And he did a really, he kind of summed up what a lot of his friends and producing partners and co-stars have said about how good he is to his friends and family. But I wanted you to talk about this Actors on Actors show. You can find the clip on YouTube where he's being interviewed by Brad Pitt and what Brad Pitt brought up in this thing.
So Actors on Actors, and it to me is reminiscent of Inside the Actors Studio, but instead of the interview, it's kind of them just sitting down and having a conversation. And Brad Pitt was bringing up his favorite Adam Sandler story, and it was a teacher in college that had told Adam that, you know, you might want to consider a different career path because you're not funny, or, you know, you're not going to be successful in this. And then Adam had run into this teacher years later, after he has been famous, and he's now Adam Sandler. And they had the opportunity this is an opportunity where someone could go and say, oh, look, you said I should find another career and I'm not going to be successful, to rub it in and to be arrogant and say, you know, but instead, when someone came up to him and, you know, asked, you know, who is this, Adam? He said, this is the only teacher to ever buy me a beer. And I think that is very kind of sums him up. Like, that's who he is. You know, he's very humble. He's very honest and sincere. He likes his friends. And, you know, he hasn't let Hollywood go to his head. And I think that, you know, the only teacher to ever buy me a beer is his way of, you know, it kind of sums up who he is as a person in Hollywood.
You could tell Brad Pitt was enjoying bringing up that story because he wanted to see what reaction that Adam would have. And Adam just played the gentleman, played it cool, played it cool. That was very, very cool. All right. So I want to get into our top 5 favorite Adam Sandler films. And we're going to start with yours, Jen. And I'll put this on the screen here. You have Grown Ups, both, Hotel Transylvania, all 3, Blended, actually all Barrymore films, Mr. Deeds, and The Water Boy. You said maybe not in that order, but that was the order I put them up in.
I don't have like a top 5. To me, they're all good. And I think that, you know, when we talk about couch potato theater, it's that, you know, the movies that come on and you just, wherever they're at in the movie, you just start watching it. I think like Adam Sandler in and of himself is a couch potato theater, because for me, if it's on, I'll just leave it on. And I think all of them, I love watching his comedies. Like, you know, they're comfortable, they're easy to watch. And, you know, it's
if you were stuck on an island though, and you can only watch one, what would it be?
The Adam Sandler channel.
Nice.
So I would want the Adam Sandler channel.
Okay.
And so my honorable mention.
Well, hold on. We'll get into the honorable mention because I have an extra slide for that. All right, Lacey, I have yours here, the list that you gave me. This is your top 5. You have Wedding Singer, Airheads, Mixed Nuts, which I didn't know he was in because I had not seen that film, Pixels, and Little Nicky. If you could get into Mixed Nuts a little bit, because I have not seen this film. What is it about him that you like in this film? This is a Steve Martin film. Like, he's the main star.
I mean, it's definitely an ensemble. I mean, it's got a huge cast. There's listing them all would be impossible. But his character is just this very quiet, unassuming, kind of a mix between his character of Pip and the character, one of his like the quiet musician on Saturday Night Live. He's just this quiet guy who's just kind of there because it's the movie's about a building full of people and they're celebrating kind of a orphans Christmas together because there's power outages and all kinds of stuff. There's reasons they all have to be there, but it's very much an eclectic group of people who just definitely are not people that would necessarily celebrate together.
You threw a curveball at me with that movie, so I'm intrigued.
Also, there's a serial killer aspect, so it's like it's got everything. It's really bizarre.
All right, my top 5 is Pixels, which is why we're talking about it. The Wedding Singer, 1998. That was my favorite for the longest time until Pixels came out. Click. Part of it has to do with the fact that my movie wife is in it, but I like the fact that it's kind of a It's Your Wonderful Life type of situation with a twist. And rest in peace, Bed Bath & Beyond stores. They all just closed. So there you go. That's My Boy, which I'm sure a lot of people don't like, but I found it hilarious, especially the reference to the 80s. And I like funny people. It's got a good ensemble cast. It's got kind of a little dramatic side to it. I feel like Adam Sandler's kind of playing himself. And if you found out that he had cancer and he's trying to, take care of things and have people help him out. And then Seth Rogen was really good in that film as well. But I've noticed that my movies tend to be more of his latter films from 98 and on, the ones that I tend to gravitate towards. But we do have some honorable mentions here. And Jen, some of your are on there. And I know there's one of yours there, Lacey. I think you have Hotel Transylvania. You mentioned Zohan, Jennifer. I threw in Just Go With It and Blended because those are also my honorable mentions, even though they're on your list. But Jennifer, I wanted you to kind of touch on that.
So You Don't Mess with the Zohan is hilarious.
It's a funny one. I like it too.
Oh my God. And it's just an Israeli hairdresser who used to be in the Mossad, hiding out from John Turturro. I mean, or Nicholas Turturro. It's so bizarre and offbeat and out there. Like when I say you could make any movie you want to make and get away with it, this is a perfect example. But to me, it's so good. I love it. I think it's hilarious. It's great.
On your top 5 list, Jen, is also an honorable mention by Lacey. And Lacey, I'm glad that you put Hotel Transylvania on there as well. I watched these with my daughter. These are a lot of fun. These are underrated, animated, funny people. And he gets a lot of his friends to come in and do the voices. What is it about the Hotel Transylvania that you like, Lacey? And you are muted, by the way.
Hello, thank you. And they're just very sweet, and it's also kind of a good message. I mean, especially for kids, it's about inclusion and not making, not judging a book by its cover and learning to accept, everyone for who they are. It's a very like modern thing for kids to learn, which is not necessarily something that I grew up with, watching, Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and, some of the more traditional, animated movies. And it's also so out there with some of the smaller characters, like the werewolf. Steve Buscemi, I think, is the werewolf. In that family, it's just hilarious. So I mean, I love all the characters, and they're super fun, and they've gotten more bizarre as you go along. But the first one was fantastic. The second one was really good. The third and fourth one, I don't think Sandler did the third or fourth one. I think
not in the fourth.
He didn't do the fourth one. Did he do the third one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you get, I think that they've gotten a little bit weirder as you go along, but the first couple were really fun.
I like it when he gets into kind of, it's weird to think of him as a leading man, but he is. Mm-hmm. But he does it as kind of like an everyday guy's leading man, which I like. He doesn't have to dress up like James Bond or look like that. He gives us like normal looking dudes hope with like really attractive women.
He's not a Brad Pitt.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that, he has chemistry with these girls, like Barrymore and Aniston and Molly Sims and all these people that he's with. It's a lot of fun. And so I like these romantic comedies like Go With It and Blended. I just watched Blended again. It had been a while since I watched it, and that's a fun movie. Really. I like to think of Blended as a modern day version of the Brady Bunch, if you think about it, because they both have, she's got the boys, he's got the girls, and they kind of go on this trip together. It's just a lot of fun. So
the daughter named Espen.
Yeah. Espen, God. Anyway, guys, first of all, Jen, I want to say thank you very much for putting together that little Adam Sandler retrospective and kind of breaking down his career. Much appreciated there. So I wanted to do that first, guys, so we can get into Pixels 2015. I'm so happy you guys are doing this with me, and you guys are like, yeah.
I'm so happy you're doing it. We've talked about it for quite a while.
Yeah, but then like when Lacey was like, wait, what? I like that movie.
Yeah, Lacey and I are going to have to get together and start tossing these things around and talk behind your back.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we are definitely, because my first name's Jennifer, and I used to go by Jen, I feel like we should do a podcast called Estrogen. That'd be hilarious.
Well, guys, let's get into Pixels. All right, guys, a little plot description here. Sam has been one of the best arcade gamers of all time. Of course, Sam Brenner is played by Adam. Once in an international tournament, NASA sent the video recording of all the games to space for intelligent beings to find and know more about humans. However, the aliens interpreted the games as a challenge and began attacking Earth using the video game data. It's now up to Sam and his other old-time arcade championship friends to save the Earth from the video game invasion. Guys, this was directed by Chris Columbus, a well-known guy. He's done Jingle All the Way, producer, but he also directed Harry Potter films. Dude kind of knows what he's doing when it comes to directing stuff. And you forget that this is a Christopher Columbus film. But I want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on the cast here. We have, of course, Adam Sandler is Chris Brenner. Kevin James plays President Will Cooper, otherwise known as Chewie. Michelle Monaghan plays Violet. Peter Dinklage plays Eddie. Josh Gad plays Ludlow Lemonsoff. We get Brian Cox in there. We get Sean Bean, who does not die. Jane Krakowski, Dan Aykroyd, and the list goes on and on, including Matt Fuhrer bringing back his Max Headroom. Let's start with you, Jen. Your thoughts on the cast of Pixels.
I love it. I mean, it's Sandler in, having Kevin James in it, hot girl, the aliens attacking Earth. We all thought when we were playing those arcade games when we were kids, and all the TV would be many more alien invasions than we currently have. I thought I loved it. I thought it was, and Josh Gad is Ludlow Lamonsoff. Lamonsoff is a name that has been in several of Sandler's films, and it's a friend of his, I believe from his first year of college. If I remember reading correctly, Lamonsoff has actually been in quite a few of the movies. But I think it worked really well in, having all of these different characters, and, they're all characters who were the nerds who now kind of rule the free world. So I thought it was great casting.
Lacey, what about you in the cast? Thoughts on that?
Loved everybody, love the purse, love the shoes, love everything. Josh Gad is delightful in everything he does. I love everybody. I love them all. And they're oddly chosen at first glance. You see some of the character and you're like, well, really? Okay. But then once you get into it, they're perfect for each of their roles. So I dug it.
I thought one of the things that I like too is when they show the younger cast members playing the younger versions of themselves. And I thought they were perfectly cast as these guys. having the 1982 video game championship take place here. I really also liked the beginning of the film, the chemistry between Michelle Monaghan and Adam Sandler. I thought that was really fun, especially when they're like going up to the White House, and they don't know like who each other are or what type of clearance that they're going to have. And Adam Sandler moonwalks into the Oval Office saying, "Ooh, someone's more important than
Somebody's
me."
more important. I would totally do that. That would be, yep.
Okay, guys. So I want to ask you. Okay, so first of all, this was released on July 24th, 2015, about an hour and 14 minutes. The budget was about $88 million, and it made $244 million, which I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like a failure to me. People went and saw this film, and I'm surprised that some people go, "Wait, huh? What?" Jennifer, are you surprised by that box office worldwide take there? Unless for some reason he is very huge in another country that we don't know about, and that's where most of the money was made.
Well, I think that what the surprising part is that number with, when you talk about kind of the buzz or the feedback you hear about it, and from the feedback I remember, it wasn't positive, but the numbers would say otherwise. Again, it's an Adam Sandler comedy. It's kind of, you go. I mean, that's just as someone who loves his movies and loves him. To me, that number is not surprising. So I just think with the buzz that surrounded the movie, to people, it would seem surprising.
Lacey?
I think the number is that it needs to make 4 times the actual budget for it to become profitable for the studio, which is what then makes it profitable, because that's who is, that those are the folks writing the article.
If you double it for marketing, it's still it makes its money back. So
But that's the thing. Making its money back isn't a.
No, I know that, but
Yeah.
still, it's more than double the amount, which surprises me. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about where and when you guys first saw this film, and then we'll get into kind of some of our favorite moments in the film. As I mentioned, I saw it in the theater with 2 friends of mine who I thought would enjoy it. One of them was a little young, didn't get all the video game references, so I'm going to say the reason why he didn't like it, and the other guy didn't like it, I don't think, because he's a big Adam Sandler fan. But I knew that he got the video game references. And then, of course, I discovered Cheerwine. Jen, did you see this in the theater when it came out?
Yes, this is actually one of the movies I did get to see in the theater. So yeah, Dave and I went and saw it probably in one of our Saturday movie marathons where we adopted your habit of seeing several movies in a day.
What are you talking about? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So we did that, and why drive all the way to Sparks, from our house, which is a good 20 minutes, and not spend all day there in a theater and like turn off the world. So
What was your first reaction to it? Did you enjoy it?
It was great. There's no swearing disclaimer on this one, so it was effing great. I loved it. I love things that are like that nostalgia, that looking back. And it's, it's people our age that are, reliving their childhood and how we're going to save the world. And all the references, be it visual or music wise, or just subtle Easter eggs, it was just fun.
Lacey, what about you? When and where did you first see it?
I saw it opening weekend. I was pumped to see it. I was very excited. I can't remember if I was still working in a movie theater, but I worked in movie theaters forever. And so even after I stopped working in movie theaters, I'd always get like the phone call from a friend of mine. She was a manager, and we would see these movies 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time at 2:00 in the morning for funsies. And I remember not being able to make it the night that she screened Pixels, and I was super bummed. I was really bummed. But so I saw it on opening weekend, and it was really fun, and I loved it, and it was amazing, and I still like it.
Yeah, I nostalgia just reigned over me when I was watching this because I was one of those video game kids and I love the old stand-up arcade games. And one of my favorite video game characters of all time, Cubert, was in it, and I thought he was adorable. I love that he had some moments in the film as well. But I love the fact that you get a film that takes these video games and aliens decide to wage war on Earth by making up video games. I mean, that's just a great freaking idea. I love that, and that we get to actually see versions of these video games. And one of the first battles that we get, of course, is against Centipede, and that none of these big, special forces guy don't know what they're doing. Then we get the battle with Pac-Man himself, which I thought was good, using the cars as Inky, Blinky, Clyde, and what was the other one? I'm missing one of the
Pinky.
Yes, thank you. And then there we are right there. I love that. Great scene. It takes place in New York. And then, of course, the final battle against Donkey Kong himself, which I thought was awesome. This, if you're a video game nerd, this thing is great. And I love, too, that we get the character that Lemonsoft was crushing on the video game. What was it? Amy something? What was the name of the character?
Lady Lisa.
Lady Lisa, thank you, who comes to life and then helps out, which I thought was cute as well. It hit all of the and plus, by the way, you had cool weapons. You had the light cannon, which makes it a little less violent than using real guns, which I thought was a great twist. I'd love to actually cosplay that. People have actually made 3D versions of this. I found this online, which I thought was great. And a lot of the video games that we played, guys, here, we had Pac-Man, of course, represented. We had Centipede, Cubert, of course, Donkey Kong, and Galaga, the classic arcade games of pixels. If you guys could only take one of these home, which one would it be? Starting with you, Lacey.
Galaga.
Yeah, me too, Galaga. Yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
I'm going to have to go with Cubert. As long as I get some little orange cheese puffs with them.
That would be my next guess, or my next choice. When you played Cubert and he fell off the game grid, there was some really loud banging noise that would happen every time he does it. There was some mechanism that would hit metal on that machine, which I thought was kind of funny. By the way, one of my favorite scenes, though, is when Ledlow is dressing down these big ass men of war. Josh Gad just killing it right here and making me laugh out loud I think this is my funniest scene in one of recent history is when he does this.
And quintessentially nerd in trying to convey things and not realizing until after it's come out of your mouth and it's taken a second or two that go, that's not what I meant.
Yeah. But guys, one of the things I want to talk about here is either this, and I was looking on IMDb. I think it was out of 10, it was rated 5.6. We talked about that. Some people don't like this film. I don't know why. It's just a fun film. And I found a response or a review here on IMDb that I kind of crystallized what I was thinking. Says sorely underrated, most honest fun since Ghostbusters. Aliens in the guise of video game characters prepare to take over the world, and a group of 80s arcade gamers reteam to stop the threat. From the director of Home Alone, Chris Columbus, Pixels plays as a mix of Wreck-It Ralph, the Lego Movie, and channels like Independence Day and the reminiscence of Ghostbusters, to name a few. This highly underappreciated sci-fi comedy is a feature-length adaptation of Patrick Jean's video game-themed short. There's something for everyone, but if you are 30-something or more, you'll find it hard to not like this retro game blast of a movie, complete with arcade slot machine sounds. Jennifer, would you say that kind of sums up our feelings on this?
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole not liking it, but the reviews. But I think that is kind of accurate in the way it's written. But it's my brain has just farted. Can you tell? Because my brain has left, and I can't think right now. So,
Lacey, your thoughts on that review?
I think that it's reasonable, but I think that they should say between 30 and 60. Because if anything, Brian Cox's character exemplifies every parent in the 1980s trying to figure out why on earth their kid wants to spend like 7 hours at the arcade.
Right.
Because he just doesn't get, he's like, what are you, I mean, everything he says is just so, it's just perfect, but wrong at the same time. Everything he says is just completely against the task at hand, because he's
which is why in the Situation Room, Adam Sandler's character Chris says, "Take the keys away from Grandpa."
right, and the fact that they need to use Moynihan's they use her character to like translate for everyone, and he's like, what, she gets to talk twice? Why does she get to talk twice?
I thought we would go into some of our favorite characters and moments and scenes or quotes in this film, and what mine was the dressing down of the Navy SEAL by Ludlow. I thought that was very, very funny. Jen, what were some of your favorite moments or scenes in this movie?
So when we're introduced to Ludlow Lamontoff, and Adam Sandler's character is like, "What are you trying to do?" He's like, "It's just a wet napkin like, with chloroform." Like, just that makes complete sense. The somebody's more important. The whole beginning scene, he's like, "Are you Mrs. Van Patten?"
In the White House, right? Yeah.
And well, then before that, when he's like knocking on her door in her house, and he's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm sitting on the floor in my closet drinking wine out of a sippy cup. What do you think?" It's like, can't overstate the obvious, you know, just little zingers like that. When he's trying to convince Colonel Van Patten or Lieutenant Colonel that, you know, nerds are the best kissers, that harkens back to Revenge of the Nerds, when, you know, all of these other people, well, we're all trying to play war games or doing this, and all nerds did besides gaming was dream about kissing girls. So, you know, it kind of these little subtle Easter eggs that some people may not have picked up on it or seen it, but then, you know, knowing the culture and having the nerd culture of the 80s and how they were disrespected, just, you know, nerds are the best kissers. And just stuff like that would crack me up. Yeah.
Lacey, what were some of your favorite scenes or moments?
Okay. For me, I think one of my favorite is the Centipede situation where they finally like yank the guns away and they managed to, and everybody's kind of like, oh, that's fantastic. Jane Krakowski, everything she says in this movie is hilarious to me.
She doesn't have a lot of scenes either.
She only has 2 or 3, you know, little kind of thing. But she and Kevin, they're just so. It's a perfect. It's just, I love it. It's hilarious. Everything that they say, every kind of like just their back and forth is just awesome, and I love it.
I think that I need to give some love to this guy right here.
The Fire Blaster.
The Fire Blaster. Peter Dinklage is Eddie, the Fire Blaster. Oh my God. Especially when they go like and the younger actor they got to play him too is good. But I love when they go to get him out of jail and all the demands that he has about wanting an island, wanting a helicopter, wanting a date with Serena Williams and Martha Stewart, just all this stuff. Not wanting to pay taxes anymore. Kind of reminds me of was it Armageddon when one of the guys says
Buscemi.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi doesn't want to pay taxes anymore. Yeah, and like I said, I just love the fact that they found a way to bring Hubert into the fold and just kind of have him as, you know, a little mascot, but to help out as well. I wanted to mention too. Let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? Actually, I'll wait to that on trivia. There's just a lot of good moments. I love the big dance scene they have, and where, you know, Michelle Monaghan and Adam Sandler's character kind of have a moment, And I liked how too that no one died in this film. The ones that were like pixelated and taken were brought back. I thought was cool. And also too that when the aliens would communicate with Earth, they would use old like MTV celebrities or rock stars or even President Reagan himself and speak through them and what they used to look like and stuff like that, because those were all the very popular artists at the time. Hall & Oates did it, and then they had the Fantasy Island guys. They had Madonna do all this kind of threatening things, like, you know, especially when Dinklage's character cheated in Pac-Man. We find out that he cheated in that 1982 video game championship as well. Just a lot of fun, a lot of good 80s reference stuff. I just wanted to give you guys a chance. Anything else regarding the movie? Any other moments? Anything that jumps out at you, Jennifer?
I think that, you know, you talk about the pop culture references, not only current, but the older ones, like that, using their method of communication of the aliens as being the "Where's the Beef Lady" or Reagan, or I think that was very smart as a way to kind of draw this audience demographic in. You know, that there's so many of them. You're like, oh, I remember the "Where's the Beef Lady," and I remember all this, and I remember watching MTV, and I remember that Madonna interview. So I think it was really smartly done with the pop culture of the 80s and then now. And I think they did that really well, and I liked that, and I found it highly entertaining.
Yeah. What about you, Lacey?
I will say that I think that Josh Gad this is one of his best performances.
Well said.
He's so on. And I mean, I follow him on Twitter and Instagram and all those because he's just so funny in real life as well. But this is just everything he says in this movie is because I was bullied relentlessly as a kid. And so everything that he said is just like, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. And you're all, I mean, maybe that one's a little bit weird, but also yes. I mean, he's kind of crazy. He's kind of out there, but you know, it's kind of that, you know, getting not vindication, but just being seen, I think, for like in a positive way. And that's something that a lot of kids who were bullied didn't get growing up.
Yeah, I think that was definitely his funniest role. You know, that when he's dressing down the military guys is one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. Because it's kind of like what you would want to do if you're in that situation and you're a video game nerd, because these guys are forced to listen to these video game nerds, and then you see all of these like badass military guys then have to go play these games and try to learn them on these stand-up arcade games, which I thought was great. Guys,
well, on Josh Gad's character, I think it's so funny is, you know, you can still see, you know, he's in his mother's basement and he's completely inept in talking to people. Like, you know, he smells
conspiracy theorists.
Yes. And he's, you know, he smells Bridget Money, you smell nice. It's like the book of Genesis. So he's completely uncomfortable but then he pulls something off at the day when he sings Tears for Fears, everybody wants to rule the world. And it's like, he has somebody who's completely 99% of this movie. He's completely inept and not at all there and no confidence. And then he's able to sing in front of a crowd like that. Like
I love the fact that he finds the first hidden message from the aliens because he videotaped an episode. It was at One Tree Hill or something like that.
Gossip Girl or something.
Yeah, that's right. Because he doesn't want to use any more higher technology because, you know, he's afraid of people sneaking in.
The feds are spying on you through your cable box. You know that, right?
All right, guys, I've got a little bit of trivia for you. All right, guys, the movie is called Pixels because it is loosely based on the short film of the same name, Pixels, which came out in 2010 by Patrick Jean. If you look up Patrick Jean on IMDb, there's a link to it. It's like a little 2.5 minute little short movie that he did. Did you guys by any chance see this?
Yes.
Jen, what are your thoughts on it?
It was interesting. To have an entire fully fleshed out movie that is pixels based on this little 2.5 minute kind of video. It was really interesting to see that. You can see the beginnings of where they were going with it. But I thought it was interesting. And, you know, in making that correlation of this little teeny tiny thing became this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to save this for trivia here. This is an actor playing the Pac-Man creator, Toru Iwatani. Now, you can actually see Toro in the film as an arcade repairman in the beginning in the 1982 flashback, but he did not play the character because he doesn't speak English. So they got an actor to play the scene here where he tries to go up to Pac-Man and Pac-Man chomps his hand off. So that was kind of funny, but he does get his hand back. It does get pixelated back, which is nice. The movie's video game high scores are based on real scores. Sam Brenner's Pac-Man score of 3,333,360 is the highest attainable score for the game, first achieved by Billy Mitchell. A higher score is possible on the Namco Pac-Man Anniversary Edition machines. Ludlow Lamonsoff's Centipede score of 16,389,548 is 1 point higher than the real-life marathon world record set by Jim Schneider. Eddie Plant's Donkey Kong score of 1,068,100 is 100 points higher than Hank Chen's former world record. Those were nice little shout-outs there. And Matt Fuhrer, who portrays an alien version of Max Headroom, a role he made famous in numerous 80s television productions. It's the first appearance of Max since 2007 when he appeared in Channel 4 commercials promoting their switch to digital broadcast. Max was always presented as a computer-generated character, but always portrayed Fuhrer in makeup. This movie marks the first time Max Headroom was actual computer-generated character. And this kind of surprised me, guys. Jennifer Aniston turned down the role of Violet Van Patten. Not sure why, but she did eventually get in more films with Adam Sandler. Did you think that the Bridget Moynahan character was a good female lead in this, Jennifer? I thought she was.
I did. I thought she was really good. She just kind of had, obviously very pretty, but she also kind of had that snarky, you know, just because I'm cute like this doesn't mean I'm less as a military career person, as a mother. You know, I life sucks. My ex-husband is going out with a woman named Cinnamon, and it's not even spelled correctly. So I think she brought a really good level of snarkiness and just zingers in there, and I think it was really good. You know my feelings on Jennifer Aniston. I probably
you're not a fan of Jennifer Aniston.
I'm not. Just never have been. So I can't say that if she had taken the role of Violet Van Patten, if I would have gone and seen it, just because I just don't like her.
I myself am a huge fan of Jennifer Aniston, especially for Friends, and I like most of her stuff. What about you, Lacey? What do you think of Jennifer Aniston not doing this role compared to Bridget Moynahan in this film?
Well, it's Michelle Monaghan.
I'm sorry, you're right, Michelle Monaghan.
I did the same thing 5 minutes ago. I like Michelle Monaghan. I think she's done a lot of really fun stuff. I've kind of followed her since I noticed her in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And then I kind of went back and started realizing that she was in all these other movies where I was like, oh, wow, I never realized who she was. I didn't clock her until Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And after that, I've just really enjoyed everything she's done. She's got a different tone than Aniston. I don't dislike Aniston. I like her. I've liked her in a bunch of stuff. I've disliked her in a couple of things, like you do. But I think it would have definitely been a different tone. And I don't know that the snark would have come across the same way.
Yeah.
So I really like Michelle Monaghan in this. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was really good in this. Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, Jen, this was Adam Sandler's last theatrically released film. Netflix will release his next 4 films. I do want to see his films back in the theater again. Other than the animated Hotel Transylvania stuff. I would like to see him do that. Netflix doesn't really do theatrical releases, but I would like to see him have a big screen movie thing. I don't know if he is a big earner. I'm assuming he's a big earner for Netflix, and people are drawn to subscribing to Netflix because of his films. But would you like to see more of his films come back to theaters now that we're all getting back in the theater again?
I think but I would actually rather have theaters run his old stuff again. Kind of like, like last year we went and saw Jaws on the big screen, and we've seen The Wizard of Oz on the big screen, where you go back and see all of these older movies back in the theaters. I think I would be more prone to go seeing that as opposed to new releases, because you know what you're getting. It's good. It makes you laugh. Some of the stuff that I hadn't seen on the big screen, I would like to go back and revisit on the big screen. So I think, for me at least, I think I would rather see his body of work come back for one night engagements on the big screen as opposed to his newer work.
As at a mentioned $80 million plus budget, this film, perhaps unsurprisingly, the most expensive film Adam Sandler has appeared in. It also, outside of the animated Hotel Transylvania films, the most widely distributed film Adam Sandler has starred in, thanks in part and its appeal to Chinese and Japanese audiences. The film was co-financed by a Chinese company, so I'm sure maybe there was a lot of theatrical action in those in China and Japan as well that gained a lot of extra revenue there. So yeah. And I thought this was interesting because I remember learning about the real guy, Eddie the Fire Blaster Plant, who plays a character resembles real life Pac-Man champion Billy Mitchell, is found to have cheated to gain his championship. On Friday, April 13th, 2018, Billy Mitchell was stripped of his Pac-Man title as well as his Donkey Kong King of Kong title due to using an unauthorized arcade machine. I don't know if you've seen those. I think there's a documentary about that as well. I didn't know if you guys knew about that, and I thought that was interesting. I like that we had some classic soundtrack music in this. We had was a Cheap Trick in there as well. I think we had Loverboy. I didn't know if the music jumped out at you at all, guys. So what about you, Lacey?
As you know, I am more of a movie than music person. I could not tell you any song that was played in this movie.
We got Surrender by Cheap Trick.
Okay.
We got We Will Rock You, of course, by Queen.
Okay, I know that one. I didn't
True,
know.
Spandau Ballet, Working for the Weekend by Loverboy.
I do remember that. I don't remember it in the movie. I do remember the song from the 80s.
Yeah, and then of course we had
really.
Josh Gad singing "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" and "She's Gone" by Daryl Hall. So there's a few on there. What about you, Jen? Did you notice the soundtrack at all?
Oh yeah, I love the soundtrack. I think the best song on there is the Smurf main theme. Because you walk out of that theater with
don't tell anyone I killed a Smurf.
Stupid freaking song going la 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 la. Don't tell anyone I killed. Yeah, I thought it was great, and like I said, that the whole nostalgia feeling. I think they did kind of. I mean, they could have gone further with the soundtrack and picked up more songs, but I think the ones that they had were fit perfectly.
I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the favorite battles that was represented in the film. We had a Galaga action going on in the beginning. It was just more like an attack. It really wasn't a battle that Brenner and his friends got to participate in. But the first one they did get to do is the Centipede battle here. Let me get that up here. The Centipede battle. And then we had the awesome Pac-Man rolling around, destroying New York. And then them using the cars as the ghosts, which I thought was great. And then, of course, we had the final battle there.
They can hear everything, so just be quiet.
Donkey Kong.
Don't make a lot of noise because they can pick everything up.
We can hear you, Jen.
Okay. My nephew's in the kitchen, and I want to make sure we don't have an ice maker issue like we had prior to broadcast.
Gotcha. I want to get you guys, what are your favorite big battles on there, whether it's referencing the video games? Jen, let's start with you.
I liked the Centipede battle. I think that was the way they did it. It was really well executed. Just, having everything happen above them like that really felt like you were in that Centipede game. And I liked how they did it. And then that's, where they get to take over and show the military how it's done to kill those centipedes with the fire cannons. And don't shoot at the head. We don't want them splitting off. I think I like that one the best. And then of course the final battle with all the characters, but this one is good.
What about you, Lacey?
I think the main battle, except for Centipede, like as far as the big battles, the Centipede one is my favorite. But when it comes to like breaking it down to my favorite kind of fight, it's Josh Gad's character versus is it Ashley Benson as Lady Lisa.
Right, yeah.
And the fact that he's trying to like fight her and still like compliment her, and trying to like he's kind of like trying to hit on her at the same time he's trying to, and it's just it's such perfect. I can't say enough good things about Josh Gad. Basically, it's just so funny where he's like, "Oh, look at you, you're so," she's still coming at him, and he's like, "But you're such a nice."
My favorite's the Pac-Man battle. I love the idea of the cars, and I love the way Brenner counts down to when he knows how long it takes for Pac-Man to lose his energy pill power, and he's racing his car backwards up and through the the parking structure, and then he ends up like jumping out, going backwards out of it just as Pac-Man bites down and turns back to a normal and gets killed. I thought that was really cool. Just a lot of fun seeing a gigantic Pac-Man going through New York. I thought was great. I want to ask you guys, does this movie deserve a sequel? Should we have had a sequel? If so, where would it have gone if we did? Or should we just leave it alone? Lacey, start with you.
I'm always up for a fun sequel. I mean, if the first one is good and they can figure out a way to make the second one and not make it just a rehashing of the original, then I'm all for it. I think it would be interesting to see them going forward. Maybe they get to go as an envoy to, I don't know.
Oh, you mean go to like the other planet and
planet.
come across maybe more video games and stuff like that. Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. Maybe see a version of what they consider is like their version of video games.
Right.
It would be interesting because they would no longer be like the masters at the game. They'd have to learn a new set of rules, which would be kind of interesting.
What about you, Jennifer? Sequel?
Initially, I would say no, only because it's completely self-contained. But in listening to Lacey, maybe, and we'll call Adam after this,
right?
And pitch it. We'll pitch it. Maybe now that the arcaders have the distinction of being able to beat this enemy, now they become the masters of the universe in the sense of other worlds come to them, and then they travel to other worlds and beat the aliens that are attacking other worlds, not necessarily in the arcader sense, but they're coming into they turn to the US. Like the US has in the world this position of, if anything is going wrong in the world, then call up the US, and they have the funds and they have the weaponry and they have this. Well, let's take that in the arcaders. Is the world now has our phone number, and we have these aliens that may not be arcading to kill us, but they're trying to kill us in these other means, and so we're going to send them out and hire them, basically mercenaries. I think would be fun.
I like the idea.
Laser Team meets Galaxy Quest.
There we go.
There you go. I love the idea of getting
I'll
off
call
world.
Adam Sandler after this.
Right?
Yeah, getting off world and teaming up with, working with these aliens that have the power to bring these video games to life. And maybe they use these video games to battle, since they now have a peace accord with these aliens, according to Kevin James's presidential character. Maybe they use these powers of these alien games to battle another threat with their new found allies or something like that. That would be kind of fun. Yeah, it's definitely get off world, do a galaxy quest type thing. That'd be kind of fun. So yeah,
use the Stargate to go off world.
Yeah. All right, guys, let me get your final thoughts on 2015 Pixels. Am I crazy for wanting to do a couch potato theater of this movie?
No.
Jen, give us your final thoughts on couch potato theater Pixels.
No. I think it has its place. It's a good movie. For those that don't like it, they may have introduced you to Cheerwine, and I'm sure they're probably listening to this. So they have some taste, but apparently in movie likes or dislikes, they don't.
That would be Scott and Nathan.
I hope you can go back after you've listened to this and now watch it with a greater appreciation because it's fun. It's just, you take it for what it is. It's just a fun movie. Not a lot of thinking involved. No drama, just you will be entertained, and I think that's the place it holds, is it's entertainment.
Lacey, I'm so glad you love this movie. Final thought. Pixels.
It's so good. It's so much fun, and it doesn't have to be. Everybody went in it with expectations. I don't have expectations when I go into a movie, especially an Adam Sandler movie, because sometimes he can go so off the wall, and I mean it's always fun. It's always. But you have to be willing to go along for the ride. There are some actors where you just have to go into it not expecting anything. You're guaranteed to have a good time. You just have to release let go of the reins and just let him do his thing. And I think that's what a lot of people went into this expecting, hardcore sci-fi or, something specific. And you can't do that especially with the topic that they picked. There's so many different ways to go. Everyone has their own nerddom, their own fandoms, their own geek things. And if you go into it expecting your niche thing, you're not necessarily going to get that. So if people don't like it, that's fine. I liked it. So Never mind. Doesn't matter. I've been binge watching a lot of Psych, so I'm inclined to say, suck it. But
And he's kind of giving you warning over his career of your expectations. If you thought that Happy Gilmore, was going to be this super serious golf movie, you would be highly disappointed. Same thing. He's kind of giving his career path, what he's done with topics and subjects in his comedies. Yeah. The hardcore sci-fi nerd thing. No, it's Adam Sandler does video games and alien invasions, and that's pretty much what you got.
Right.
Yeah, I watch this movie at least once a year, and now that I invested in a 3D TV, I got it on 3D. It's awesome in 3D. I'll tell you that. It was nice to revisit that because I remember watching it in the theater in 3D. And Scott, Nathan, if you're listening, hopefully you can watch it again and appreciate it, and just take a look at the different roles and cast members in this, because Peter Dinklage and Josh Gad, they're just so good in this film and so funny and have some of my favorite moments in this. And you know what also too that I like about this film is Adam Sandler, if you notice in his movies, and I got to give him a prop to this. I don't know if he does this on purpose, but he doesn't make the kids annoying. He makes them fun and entertaining and not always stupid, and the kid in this film, has some moments in it as well. And I like that he makes children shine and doesn't make them just like props in a movie. You guys notice that, Jen?
It's also Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus is so good with kids.
But I've noticed that you're right. You're absolutely right. But just in Adam Sandler films in general, especially in the last 20 years, Jen, wouldn't you say too?
Well, I mean, he married Jackie in 2003. He had Jackie had Sadie in 2006, and then Sonny was born in 2008. So when we talk about, that phases of his movie career, it really does parallel his life and what he's going through. The Happy Gilmores and the Water Boys and the Airheads. pre-marriage and while I'm in my 20s and still having a good time and life's a party. And then he gets married to Jackie and you start seeing a more serious side in the dramatic roles he plays, but also films like Bedtime Stories, which is amazing piece of work. And you can tell like in his life where he's at just by looking at his body of work and how that changes. Like you're not always gonna get the same rehashed jokes every time. He evolves and grows, and he has a respect for these different aspects of life as he's experiencing them. He puts them on screen.
Yeah, well said. All right, guys, let's close things out here. All right, guys, you are listening to us on the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you're watching us, thank you very much. Make sure you're watching us on our Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. Please subscribe and you'll receive notifications. And please share. Let us know what you guys think. We'd appreciate that support. Our master feed for all of our audio podcasts can be found on fpnet.podbean.com. And the Fandom Podcast Network can stream and download on that Podbean app. Also, the Fandom Podcast Network is on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Please rate us if you can, if your podcast provider allows that. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Twitter /now X and on Instagram. We'll eventually be getting over there to Threads as well. My name is Kevin. I am on Twitter /X, Instagram, and Threads at Spartan_Phoenix. Jennifer, where can we find you on the socials?
I am on Instagram and Threads at ChefStomp91.
Awesome. And Lacey, where can we find you?
I'm still on Facebook. Lacey Pants. I'm on what is it, X now? They've changed the name again. I don't know what it was. They took the X off the building, so now we don't know what it's called anymore. So I'm still
dumpster fire is what it's called.
I mean, you're right. You're not wrong. And then I'm on Instagram at the Lacey Pants.
And please check out Lacey on our Time Warp podcast, as we're currently now breaking down the year of 1983. Make sure you check those out too. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fandom Podcast Network, Couch Potato Theater, celebrating Pixels 2015 and looking back at Adam Sandler and his career with the retrospective. Jennifer, thanks again for the work that you put into that, and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. We love
a lot of fun, guys. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you on the couch. Goodbye, everyone.